Most people go through their entire lives believing that those around them are fundamentally good, that their friends wish them well, that their family wants them to succeed, that if they are kind, patient, and loyal enough, the world will eventually be kind in return. But what if that belief, the very belief that keeps you trusting, forgiving, and open, is the exact thing being used against you? Arthur Schopenhauer was one of the darkest, most clear-eyed philosophers who ever lived. He wasn't interested in making you feel better. He was interested in making you see clearly. And what he saw in human nature disturbed him deeply. Schopenhauer spent his life studying why humans suffer, why they lie, why they envy, why they destroy what they claim to love. And his conclusions weren't comfortable, but they were true. In this video, we'll uncover the 8 dark truths about human nature that Schopenhauer warned us about. Truths that most people spend a lifetime trying to avoid. But for those willing to face them, these truths become armor. They become wisdom, and they change everything.
Truth number 1. People don't want truth. They want comfort. Here's something that will quietly change the way you speak to people forever. Tell someone an uncomfortable truth about themselves, something real, something they need to hear, and watch what happens. They don't thank you. They distance themselves. Sometimes they turn against you entirely. We've been taught that honesty is a virtue, that people value truth tellers. But Schopenhauer understood something deeper. The human mind isn't built for truth. It's built for survival. And what survives best inside us is the version of reality that hurts the least. Think about someone you know, maybe a friend stuck in a destructive relationship, a colleague repeating the same career mistakes, a family member with a habit they refuse to examine. You've tried to say something, and it didn't land. Not because you were wrong, but because the mind has a sophisticated defense system against truths that threaten its sense of self. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we build to protect our ego from the parts of ourselves we can't accept. Schopenhauer called it the will. Whatever name you give it, the mechanism is the same. Humans filter reality. They don't see what is. They see what they can tolerate. This is why flattery is more powerful than honesty in most social situations. This is why charismatic liars often go further than principled truth tellers. This is why the messenger so often gets punished for the message. Insight. Stop trying to make people see what they're not ready to face. The wisest move is knowing when to speak, and when your silence is its own form of intelligence.
Truth number 2. Most kindness is disguised seller interest. This one is uncomfortable, and you'll probably resist it at first, because it touches something we all want to believe, that people help each other out of genuine love and generosity. Schopenhauer had a different view. He believed that the vast majority of what humans call kindness is actually transactional, performed in expectation of something in return. Status, approval, reciprocity, guilt relief, the feeling of being a good person. Watch carefully the next time someone is particularly generous to you. Is it when you are struggling or when you are rising? Is their warmth consistent, or does it appear when they need something? Does their help come with strings, even invisible ones? Marcus Aurelius wrote about this in his Meditations, the importance of acting virtuously without expecting recognition, because he understood that most people who give with an internal ledger. They're tracking, and if you don't pay back in the currency they expect, the kindness evaporates. This doesn't mean true compassion doesn't exist. Schopenhauer actually believed genuine compassion, what he called Mitleid, was the rarest and most beautiful force in human nature. But it's rare precisely because it asks nothing in return. And in a world driven by ego and self-preservation, that kind of selflessness stands out like a candle in a dark room. Insight. The person who helps you without an audience, without credit, without expectation. Hold on to that person. They are rare, and so is what they're offering you.
Truth number 3.
People fear your growth more than your failure. When you fail, people feel sorry for you. They might even reach out. They feel safe around your pain because it confirms a comfortable idea that the world is hard for everyone. But when you start to grow, when you start to rise, building something, becoming someone, improving in ways they can see, something shifts. The warmth gets cooler. The support gets quieter. And in some people, something that looks a lot like resentment begins to surface. Nietzsche called this ressentiment, the slow, smoldering envy of those who cannot rise themselves, turned outward into subtle hostility toward those who do. It doesn't always look like aggression. Often it looks like dismissal, subtle undermining, jokes made at your expense, questions designed to make you doubt yourself. Schopenhauer understood this as an expression of the will, the blind, competitive force driving all living things. When someone sees you moving ahead, their will instinctively experiences it as a threat, not because they consciously wish you harm, but because your success reflects back something painful, the gap between where they are and where they could have been. This is why the people who most discourage your ambitions are often those closest to you. It's not always malice, it's fear. Your growth reminds them of their own stagnation, and that's a mirror most people aren't ready to look into. Insight. Protect your ambitions like you protect your peace. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your becoming.
Truth number 4. Boredom is more dangerous than pain. Most people think the great enemy of human happiness is suffering, pain, loss, hardship. And yes, these things wound us deeply. But Schopenhauer warned of something far more insidious, something we rarely talk about seriously. Boredom. When humans are not in pain, they almost always create it. They manufacture drama. They stir conflict in their relationships. They sabotage stability the moment it feels too quiet. Not because they're broken, but because the human will cannot tolerate stillness. It must want. It must strive. And when there's nothing left to want, the emptiness becomes unbearable. Look at how people behave the moment life becomes comfortable. They find something new to be anxious about. They pick fights that didn't need to happen. They scroll endlessly, unconsciously, hunting for stimulation. They make impulsive decisions that blow up the stability they worked years to build. The Stoics had a name for the discipline required to sit with stillness without being destroyed by it. They called it equanimity, the ability to be at peace with the present moment. Not because nothing matters, but because you have learned to need less from the outside world to feel whole. Insight. If your life feels calm and you find yourself looking for problems, stop. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the rarest luxury most people never learn to accept.
Truth number 5. The herd punishes those who think alone. Human beings are social animals, and social animals have one deeply hardwired rule: conform or be expelled. For most of human history, being expelled from the group meant death. So the pressure to think like everyone else, believe what everyone else believes, want what everyone else wants, this isn't weakness. It's ancient survival logic written into our biology. But here's what Schopenhauer and later Nietzsche saw so clearly. In a world where conformity is the rule, independent thought becomes a kind of threat. The person who questions what the group accepts is not celebrated. They are viewed with suspicion, labeled arrogant, cold, difficult, strange. You may have felt this the moment you started thinking differently about success, relationships, or what you want from life, and noticed that the people around you became uncomfortable,
because your ideas were wrong, but because your independence reminded them of the cage they had accepted without question. Nietzsche called this the great problem of the last man, the person so afraid of being different that they shrink their entire inner world to fit what the crowd approves of. Schopenhauer's answer was solitude, not loneliness, but chosen aloneness, the discipline of protecting your thinking from the constant noise of other people's opinions. Insight. The crowd has never been a reliable compass. Learn to sit with the discomfort of thinking differently, because that discomfort is often the price of clarity.
Truth number 6. Compassion is rarer than it appears. Everyone claims to be empathetic. Scroll through any social media platform and you'll find endless performances of compassion. People loudly mourning strangers, passionately defending causes, demonstrating their sensitivity for all to see. But Schopenhauer made a sharp distinction that cuts through this. There is a difference between pity and compassion. Pity keeps you above the person suffering. It lets you feel superior while appearing caring. Genuine compassion, what Schopenhauer called the foundation of all morality, requires you to dissolve the boundary between yourself and the person in pain, to feel it with them, not at them from a distance. Carl Jung explored this through what he called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. The person who performs empathy loudest is often running from their own shadow. They focus intensely on other people's pain because it's easier than facing their own. Real compassion is quiet. It shows up in private. It doesn't need an audience. And it doesn't disappear when it stops being convenient. If you want to know who truly cares for you, remove the audience. Watch who remains. Insight. Loud empathy performed in public is often private distance wearing a costume. The most compassionate people you'll ever meet are rarely the loudest about it. Truth number 7. Humans are wired for suffering. This is perhaps Schopenhauer's most famous and most unsettling idea. And before you dismiss it, sit with it for a moment. Because he wasn't saying suffering is permanent. He was saying it is structural. The will, Schopenhauer's word for the blind, restless drive inside every living thing, is never satisfied. You want something desperately. You get it. For a brief moment, there is relief. Then the want returns, slightly different, equally intense. You fall in love. You want security. You get it. You want passion. You achieve your goal. You want the next one. You earn the approval of someone important. Then you want the approval of someone else. Modern psychology has a name for this: the hedonic treadmill. Research consistently shows that humans return to a baseline emotional state regardless of what they achieve or acquire. The joy of getting what we want fades faster than we predicted, and then the wanting begins again. The Stoics offered a powerful antidote: negative visualization, deliberately imagining the absence of what you have, your health, your relationships, your work, so that gratitude becomes a practice rather than an accident. Schopenhauer's prescription was slightly different. Learn to want less, not as self-denial, but as the deepest form of freedom. Insight. The person who masters what they need is more powerful than the person who masters what they want. Want less. Own more of yourself. Truth number 8. Most people will never change. We waste enormous amounts of emotional energy trying to change other people, trying to make someone understand us, trying to help someone see their patterns, trying to love someone into becoming a better version of themselves. And it almost never works. Schopenhauer believed that a person's fundamental character
what he called their intelligible character, is fixed. It can be expressed in more or less refined ways, but the core of who someone is doesn't transform through argument, pressure, or love. Real change, when it happens at all, comes from within, from crisis, from suffering so personal that it cracks something open. And even then, it is rare. This isn't nihilism, it's liberation. Because the moment you stop trying to change others, you redirect that energy toward the only person you actually have any power over, yourself. Carl Jung said it precisely. You cannot change anything unless you first accept it. But acceptance doesn't mean endorsement. It means seeing clearly. It means working with reality instead of fighting a war against it that you were never going to win. The people who drain you will keep draining you. The ones who deceive will keep deceiving. Not because they are evil, but because the will is stubborn. And your job is not to rescue them. Your job is to protect what you are building. Insight. Release the people you've been trying to fix. Not with anger, with peace. Your energy belongs to your path, not their patterns.